Thanks so much for joining. This is such an important topic. How do you spark authentic curiosity in students? You know, I have two children. When I started walking around town with my eldest as a toddler, looking up at the sky and you see a jetliner going across the sky, or maybe you're in New York for the first time and you see the Statue of Liberty. It was bemusing to me to see how I might find something amazing, blows my mind, and my 4-year-old doesn't have the same reaction. Maybe they find it interesting, or maybe they just kind of think, "Oh, okay, well, on to the next thing." And you wonder, well, why that is? Well, I think one reason is from the point of view of a 4-year-old, maybe a lot of things are competing for their attention. I mean, a lot of things are pretty cool if you're new to this world. Even tables and chairs are pretty amazing if you're new to this world. Of course, the other thing that a 4-year-old is lacking is they don't have the context. They don't have the, you might call it scaffolding, to plug in a new piece of information or a new thing that they're seeing, and they find it interesting because it relates in a way to the information that they already have. So if I'm looking up at the Statue of Liberty, I know about the American myth and the founding of the country and the Revolutionary War and all that. But um, the the 4-year-old doesn't know that, and so finds it a lot less interesting for that reason. So until you have a little bit of that scaffolding, you're not you don't have the basis to find new things interesting, and you're trying to bootstrap yourself up. So, well, how do we help students bootstrap as quickly and as effectively as possible? I think that you know um, this is the great question that education faces, right? This is what you're deciding when you put together a curriculum, and all different parts of the curriculum are important. What I do through reason and rationality is we don't do science, right? Because science requires a lot of scaffolding. It's so important for kids who are interested in science to have places to explore it, and so they will grow up and become doctors and scientists and chemists and physicists and engineers, and that is so important. It does require a lot of scaffolding, and that is the work of a good school to do. There also is a way to create really big scaffolding really, really quickly, which is to step back and think, okay, what objectively are the most interesting and important ideas that are not science, which requires so much scaffolding, that a young person should know because it really makes a difference to the world and how the world works? Well, this is sort of the problem that was confronted in Oxford in the 1920s when they were deciding, okay, how do we modernize the curriculum, which was based on the greats, as they called it, reading Aristotle and David Hume and uh, Mill and all the hundreds of years of Western civilization, which is important and is a great way to build your scaffolding and discover your genuine curiosity, but doesn't work for all students and doesn't work very quickly, that's for sure. So they wanted something more relevant that would bring students up to what is really current today and important for leaders because when they were thinking about this in Oxford in the 1920s, it was really about how do we have civil servants that go out into the world and rule the British Empire, that kind of a thing. Well, the same approach is really relevant today and has worked so well with students that I've had in the reason and rationality classes. Um, but constantly does have to be modernized. And some of the ideas, that I love talking to students about are not the same ones that, would have popped up in 1920. And I'm sure they're not the ones that are being discussed in Oxford today. So if you look at this list, just an illustration or some examples of the sorts of topics that we go through, and I love going through with students, and that really does make them lean out of their seat when they discover the relevance of these ideas. You look at the first three are kind of microeconomics, really just the first couple of chapters in a micro textbook. 4, 5, and 6 are, you might say, ideas out of law or politics. 7, 8, and 9 are ideas out of statistics or probability. But of course, crucially, if you're studying economics or if you're studying politics, you're likely to come across these ideas in your econ and politics class because everything is really woven into everything else on this list. That's why this interdisciplinary approach makes sense. The last three um, are more pure philosophy, and that's Oxford University. You know, one of the reasons why I feel like this has worked so well with students that have grabbed onto these ideas, and then I've seen them go and want to develop their curiosity further. One of my students went and wrote a paper about the trolley problem and published a paper in the Harvard Business Review about something else. One of the reasons why this grabs students is that it is not falling into the common trap that I think really does bog down um, curricular innovation when you're trying to grab students' attention. Often you end up pandering or you end up preaching to the students. And this does not pander and it does not preach. The idea isn't to think to yourself, oh, wow, what are kids interested in these days? And you certainly don't want to preach to students, which, wow, that will turn them off so quickly. It really does work to think, what what are the most important things for a smart person to know? And if you're objective about that and you are real, then students respond. They especially respond when you presenting that information to them in a social kind of an environment, in a conversational kind of environment. So one of the keys to the way that I run these educational sessions is I usually do it with with a colleague or with a friend who understands the content, and so we're creating a conversation. Students are part of that, and are coming into a social environment where we find it interesting, and then it helps them find it interesting too. And the students can see their friends are finding it interesting, and it all lifts up together. So this summer. Some of our instructors will be graduate students from the philosophy department at Princeton. Joe Schmidt, who makes amazing YouTube videos and has lots of friends on Facebook. He makes YouTube videos for high school students where he just really zeroes in on great and important topics that are of interest to high school students. He's friends with Amos Wolin, who's a graduate student in philosophy at Oxford. Amos is friends with Florence Bacchus. She's a student, a graduate student at Harvard. Witty, funny, all over Twitter with her comments. And these people are friends with each other, and they're just bright and really energetic. People at the forefront of what's happening in academia right now who love communicating with an audience and a younger audience. And it really helps to make the content sing. But when you're doing that, when you have a content that sings, you have important content, you have a social kind of an atmosphere that makes it fun for the participants. There is a danger, and the danger is that things kind of they become a little bit wishy-washy, or people just kind of say, "What do you think about this important topic?" And this is my opinion, this is your opinion, and things kind of wander. That is a danger that does not happen when you have really, really smart people running the class. I've always had the smartest people running reason and rationality sessions, and that's why it works. Because if you see the chessboard, you see the structure. This is Joe Schmid. This is from one of his YouTube videos where he was presenting to high school students the lay of the land when it comes to moral relativism versus moral realism. If you want to know how an academic today would think about that landscape, then screenshot this or watch Joe's video. But I'm only throwing this up there so you can see that you have to be systematic, you have to be rigorous. And I, for me, that's really the third ingredient that explains why it's been so successful, because you're not letting the conversations just wander and go off track. You're really making them rigorous so that students walk out thinking, gosh, this was the important topic. I had so much fun talking about it with this group of smart people, and I really understand some of the system now. And there's something I know that's concrete that my parents don't know, my friends don't know, and I feel smarter. And that feels so good. Well, for 2025, we have just an amazing group of students coming out so far from a lot of the top, especially prep schools around the country, but a lot of innovative schools. I'm really excited that we have students coming out from the Stanford Online High School, um, and from Astronova, for example, but lots of great schools. I wish that we would get more students from, like the non prep school and elite school backgrounds, and we are getting students from all different backgrounds. I do want more and more of those students who don't necessarily come from all just these top schools, because this is an approach that works for all different students, and all different students will thrive in it. So our URL, reasonandrationality.com. I invite you to come check us out, and reach out to me at info@reasonandrationality.com. That's the email address that's on the website. It goes directly to me. Love to talk to anybody who's interested in the program, wants to learn more, wants to learn more about our approach and how I think about sparking genuine curiosity in students. Thanks for listening.